Hey Vix, it's Gecko, and today I'm bringing you not very late, it's the 2nd, but a late May wrap up, slightly late June TBR. Now there are 2 piles of books in front of me. They are not both my TBR, although some of them technically are. So I'm going to start off with the 4 books I read last month. It's a pretty bad month. Then go into the books that I'm currently reading. A couple of them, well, one of them fits onto my TBR anyway because I'm going to use it for something else. But let's get on with the 4 books I read. First book I read, finally, was Tess of the D'Urbervilles with this beautiful cover. This is the story of a girl called Tess who finds she may be descended from the ancient family of D'Urberville, who are like a big Norse family, I believe. And it's basically a Greek tragedy. And it's about her relationships with 2 different men and how it affects her life in the hypocrisy of the Victorian age. It's about hypocrisy and double standards of how women and men are treated in Victorian England. And Thomas Hardy done a really good job of capturing that in this very small book. It's 350 pages. Its subtitle was called A Pure Woman. Tess of the D'Urbervilles was a pure woman, and it angered people when it was written, as it was condemned as immoral and pessimistic. And I loved it. I hated both guys, but every part of this book, as awful and as frustrating as it was, I had to keep reading it. It took me over a month to read it. I started reading it in April, but when I was actively reading it, I couldn't put it down. And this might actually be on my best books of the year. Maybe. Depends on if I read anything that's even better than this that knocks at the top spot of the top 10. Next, well, I'm apparently doing this in reverse order of what I've read, so I'm just going to do both these at the same time because they're in the same series. I reread Clockwork Angel and Clockwork Prince, the first 2 of the Infernal Devices series, with their beautiful spines and their beautiful covers. In the Shadowhunter universe, these follow another girl called Tess, and she turns up in London looking for her brother who sent her a ticket, and she suddenly finds herself surrounded by the downworld, which is anyone who isn't a Shadowhunter or a mundane. So this is her adventures with Will and Jem, who are on the covers, who are the 2 Shadowhunter boys and Albertalli she meets. So they're essentially this era's Jace and Alec, but completely different if you've read the Mortal Instruments. These are really good. I read them via the audiobooks, which are fantastic. I didn't quite finish Clockwork Princess though. I've got about 6 hours of that one left, so hopefully I'll be finishing that one in June, but I'm making no promises. But this is still my favourite series, and I picked up so much more in these that I didn't the first time. I specifically found why Chain of Gold, the first book in the Lost Hours trilogy, is called Chain of Gold, which was really fun. So these were nice rereads. And finally, after an actual age, I finished Rune and Rising, and I loved it. It was so good, and yeah, it was so good. It's the last book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I can't really say too much about it because it's the finale, but it basically follows, well, I can tell you about Shadow and Bone, which is there. The gold book right at the end, and this follows a girl called Alina and her best friend Mal. She finds out not only is she a Grisha, but she's a sun summoner, which is what the Netflix show is about, which is really good. I can't stop watching it. It's amazing. So, next I got on to chapter 6. I literally read this 6 chapters in one day and haven't picked it up since, but it's going on this list, and I'll talk about it in a few minutes. I believe this is the one that has the LGBT rep, but this is Percy Jackson and the Last Olympians. I'm on page 81, and I will be reading it this month. I will be finishing it this month, but I will talk about it in the next bit. Then I'm on reading Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, which is a novella bind-up by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Reese Brennan, Maureen Johnson and Robin Blasserman. I am on the third one. I'm on page 103, not that far through it. I'm hoping my library has them on audio because I'm finding short stories and novella collections, bind-ups, go through them quicker if I'm able to read with them audibly and physically at the same time, which I will also talk about when I get to another one. Yeah, this one's absolutely massive. It's 12 stories, I believe. Is it 12? Or is it 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's 10. It's 10. And these follow the end of Sea of Heavenly Fire. And all I can really say is it's a continuation of one of the characters, what happens to them. And this is their adventures at the Shadowhunter Academy. But I will say, it has these wonderful bits of art, which I absolutely love. This is Will and Tessa from the Infernal Devices. Will and Tessa? Gem and Tessa. Next on my list, I'm still doing my chapter a day of War and Peace. I'm a little bit behind, but I'm on page 423. Still hating it. Still don't want to read it. I've been putting it off. I will catch up. I can't really tell you anything about this book. There's too many characters and so much is going on, but I will finish it. I promise. Next is Royal Assassin. I am on chapter 20, page 385. A book that is 648 pages long, so I'm about 60% through the book. I am loving this. This is the continuation to Assassin's Apprentice, which I read a couple of months ago, maybe 4 months ago now. This follows the first trilogy, follows of the Elderling, Realm of the Elderling. Follows this boy called Fitz, who is the bastard son of a prince, and he's forced to be raised in the stables. And the king says, oh, you have royal blood, we can train you as an assassin, and it's kind of that storyline. I am loving this, and I will be continuing to read it throughout the month. It's due back on the library on the 5th of June, so I'm hoping I can finish it before then, but maybe not. Next is a very, very dirty book. Is No Middle Name by Lee Child. This is the novella bind-up of the Jack Reacher series. Apparently I only have 2 books left to read. 2 short stories. No, 3 short stories left. So I'm about 94% done. And then that's how much I have left. 3 stories I will be using the audiobook to read along with. I found this a little bit hard to get into because some of these are like 80 pages of just text, and I'm struggling to not have a place to break because I based my reading on chapters, so having the audiobook really helped. I got through it a lot quicker than I expected. And of course, I'm still making my way through it. So that's something. I haven't actually picked it up, but I will. I'm still on page 268, which is part 2, chapter 5, and part 3 of chapter 5 of part 2. This obviously follows the story of the folks of Derry after Georgie gets killed by the clown. I'm assuming we know the story a bit because of the films. But if not, that's basically what happens. That happens very early on in the book. This is... It's all taking part in June of 1958 now. And then there's going to be a reunion or something, and then there's more. And it keeps splitting back through the timelines. It's very good. I'm very intrigued. Can't wait to see what more's going on. Now, for my actual TBR, I'm doing a readathon thing for the Facebook group I'm in. And the theme is back to school. But before I talk about that, I briefly want to say, hopefully I finish Royal Assassin this month and get into Assassin's Quest, which is the 3rd and final book of the Farseer trilogy. This one, though, is a whopping 800 and 38 pages. It's chunky. But I really hope I get to it, and obviously it's the story of Fitz and everything. I didn't know if I said his name was Fitz, but his name's Fitz. So, the theme is back to school. And the first, this is set of an English school. You have to do 6 challenges plus or is it 5 challenges and the registration, or 6 plus the registration, or form time. It's based around English School Day because it's an English Facebook group. It kind of makes sense. Right, so the first one was form time, and it's read a book where the title or author's name begins with your first initial. And I went with Gemina by J. Christoph and Amy Hoffman, because Gecko, G for Gecko, G for Gemina. This is the sequel to Illuminate, which is an epistolary told in a multimedia format. I could have used it for the second one, but then I wouldn't have had anything for form time because I don't have a lot of books beginning with G or authors' names that begin with G. So I went with Gemini. I'm really looking forward to reading it because I finished last year on Illuminate, and I'm really hoping this book lives up to it. Hoping that will be fun. Next is slightly in the wrong order. So this should be, yeah. Next is read an ebook or a book featuring social media. And for that one I picked Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. It's my favourite book of all time. What's this? Okay. There's a random bookmark in it. But it's on page 103. So this book is about a girl called Frances who wants to do English Lit at Cambridge University. It's all she's worked her life towards. And she's really into fandom. She spends a lot of time on Tumblr and YouTube. And she's obsessed with this podcast called University. The main character is Radio Silence. And she meets her neighbour properly for the first time. And it's their friendship and how the podcast relates to friendship and stuff like that. It's one of the most amazing books. Maybe this time I'll be able to do a review of this, because last time I read this I couldn't think about it without crying. This book is amazing and I'm so glad I get to read it again. I hope for some coherent thoughts this time. And that was for computing. Next book is Geography. Read a book set in a different country, and I'm choosing Blood and Honey. You'll probably find that a lot of the books on this list who are also on my last TBR. I am going to read them, and I will put them on every TBR I can until I finish them. The only ones that didn't fit onto this one were Dear Justice, Concrete Rose and Forgotten. But I will be reading them at some point. This book is set in, I believe, 1700s in France. And it has a beautiful map. And it's the sequel to Serpent and Dove, which I read in 2019. I read it in 2019? I think I read it in... No, I read it in 2020 and got this in 2020. That's it. And it's about a witch and a witch hunter being married. And ooh, intrigue. Next book is Technology. Graphics. Read a book with an illustrating cover. I've already started this one. I am reading physically and with the audiobook because plays are kind of difficult for me to read. Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. I'm currently on Act 2, Scene 1, which it's not very far in the book, or in the play. It's literally the 3rd scene. But quite a lot has already happened. This follows a whole group of characters. So far someone's said that she wants to marry someone who's not allowed to marry someone else. Then there's a theatre troupe going in. I've never read this and I've never seen this, so I'm kind of in the dark about what all of this is. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. I was really pleasantly surprised when I read the line, "The course of true love never did run smooth," which is Act 1, Scene 1, line 134. Which is a really famous quote. It was nice to see it in this. And I have the Wordsworth Stephen Classics edition, which is absolutely beautiful. Lord, what fools these mortals be. And it is funny. It's slightly infuriating at times, but so far I am actually really enjoying it. It was for my Coke Zero. Next is RE, Religious Education, which we study in the UK. I read a book featuring one of the 7 deadly sins, and for that I struggled because I didn't really know of any. So I looked on a list because it's one of the pop sugar prompts for last year, and I couldn't complete it because I didn't want to read it, and I completely forgot about it. But I've chosen The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which is a tiny little book, or my tiny little edition. And it is 140 pages, my edition. It's very short, very small. And I believe this is about greed. Okay, after the war, the mysterious J. Gatsby, a self-made millionaire, pursues wealth richer than the lady he lost to another man with stoic determination. When Gatsby finally does reunite with Daisy Buchanan, tragic events are set in motion. Told through the eyes of his detached and omnipresent neighbour and friend, Nick Carraway, Fitzgerald's succinct, powerful prose hints at the destruction and tragedy that awaits. I'm very interested to read it. I've never read anything by Fitzgerald, but I do have the Fitzgerald collection, which includes Tender is the Night and The Beautiful and the Damned. So, interesting to start with this. I know a lot of people really love this book and a lot of people really hate this book. Interesting to see what it's about. Next is a book for PE. It's read a book with a word connected to sport in the title, i.e. try, love, goal, etc. That one I chose Last Olympian because the Olympics are a sporting event. This is where I'm talking more about this one. I believe this is the Percy Jackson book that has the LGBT rep. Basically, this is the last book in the main series. I will be finishing it this month, hopefully, and I can be moving on to the Heroes of Olympus, which are currently over there because I'm still reevaluating my shelves. But so far, this is really good. I can't really say what is the last in the series. This is about a boy called Percy Jackson who finds out he is the son of a Greek god. And adventures pursue. And every book is a quest. And this one, yeah. I love the title of this book. Most people get presents on their 16th birthday. I get a prophecy that could save or destroy the world. It's that kind of sort of like writing. It's really engaging. It's really fun to read. And I'm glad to be finally ending the series. But I'm also really sad because I really love it, and I'm really glad that I get to continue with the other ones. Next is Maths. Read a book that is over 314 pages. That one I've chosen The Invisible Life of Addy Larue, which is, I don't actually know, but I know it's over 314 pages. 554, just a bit. But this is about a girl called Addy Larue who makes a deal with the devil for immortality, I believe. But everyone forgets who she is as soon as they meet her. And someone doesn't forget her. So, interesting to see how this pans out. I've heard very mixed things about this. But then again, I've heard mixed things about a lot of things and love them. So, there's that. English. Read a book you've been looking forward to reading. Dark Dawn by J. Christoph. Finally be able to finish this trilogy. It's been long. Has a beautiful map. It has 3 beautiful maps. I don't know if you could call that a map. But yes, this is the last book in the Nevernight Chronicles. One is a girl called Nia, pardon me, who is training as an assassin to basically kill the people who killed her father. This is the final book, and I'm very excited to get into it. Saying that, I've been saying I'm excited to read this for about 4 months. Will I read it? Who knows? But yes, and this has bisexual rep. The main character is bisexual because obviously Red Month. Science, biology. Read a book with a person or animal on the cover. Another LGBT read is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. This is about a girl who wants to go to college but she's too poor. and then the school gives a scholarship to the King and Queen. So she must face the entire school, but she can't go with another girl. She has to go with a boy because the school is obviously backwards. It does say small town, so. But yes, basically the new girl comes to school, Mac. She's smart, she's funny, and she's just as much of an outsider as Liz. And Mac has also been running for Queen. And Liz is falling for Mac. So, that sounds interesting. Next is a book with your favourite colour on the cover. And one of my favourite colours is purple. Another one of my favourite colours is black. Another one being red. They're my top 3 favourite colours. And this has 2 of them on it, and it is really shiny. This is about 4 criminals who there's new magic on the street, and these 4 outsiders must come together to save their city before it's too late, and they can't trust anybody. And it says it has crooks, heroes, and magic and betrayal. Again, a book that I was super looking forward to, and I've heard pretty much nothing but bad things about. But I'm really looking forward to it. I really enjoyed her other book, To Kill a Kingdom, which was a dark Little Mermaid retelling. I didn't get it was a dark Little Mermaid retelling, just got it was a dark story about mermaids, but there we go. But yes, another book I'm really excited to read, that I doubt I'll get to this month. Read a book for Performing Arts that has been nominated for an award. So I don't have to read all of these, I only have to read 5 or 6, but of course I'm going to try and read all of them, because I'm an overachiever who never actually achieves things. Nominated for an award, I'm going with the 5th season, which is a nature-based post-apocalyptic book. It's first book in a trilogy, and it won the Hugo Award. I think it won it 3 times. So, interesting to see. I read the first, what was it that I read? Also, has a beautiful map. I read the prologue, or the first page really, of the prologue, and thought it was absolutely brilliant. I couldn't wait to read more, but I put it down because I was doing other things. Hopefully, I'll be able to get to this book this month as well. Next is languages. Read a book that's been translated or contains a made-up language. This one, I'm dropping. I picked Ruby Red, which has been translated from German. It's about time travel. As far as I know, she apparently falls in love whilst travelling in time, I guess. This was translated to English from German, I believe. Translated from German by Anthea Bell. Yes, this was originally written in German. It's a translated book. So very floppy paperback, and it's very pretty. I really do like it. I think it's a very pretty book, and hopefully I can read it. A lot of people said this reads really young, so I don't know if that's because of the translation or because it's more of a younger YA. Because a lot of people seem to think YA is all like 17, 18-year-olds saving the world, but a lot of YA is like 14, 15-year-olds saving the world. And she's 16, but she could be a young 16, who knows. And finally, penultimately, media studies. Read a book which has been adapted for film or TV. And for Pride Month, I'm planning on rereading Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. I haven't read it in a long time. I haven't read it since I've seen the film. It was a really good book. I remember it well, so it'd be nice to see if it lives up to my memory. And also it would be interesting to read with the knowledge that the author is now out as bisexual. So that'd be fun. And finally, history. Read a book you've owned for a long time. I think I've owned this book for about 10 years. Arizona. Book 2 of The Beautiful Dead. We know I hated the first one. Let's see if I hate the second one any less. Probably not. But there we go. So, I'm going to include Assassin's Quest in this because I am planning on reading it. I would hold them all up, but I'd probably drop them. So we have these 4 that I'm 3 that I'm continuing to read. Well, 5 that I'm continuing to read. 1 I want to start. So there are these ones. we have this second stack. Very, very heavy books. And we have this stack as well. And finally, we have the bottom two that I'm still continuing to read, and these two. So I have a lot to do in this month, which is bad that I've only read basically one chapter of a book in 2 days. But this is me with a couple of rereads on this list, so I know I'll read Radio Silence super quickly. Gemini could take all year, to be honest. I should be able to finish No Middle Name, but I don't know. I have it from the Libby app from my library, so I've got about a week left on that, so I should be able to do it. I think something like half an hour left. And obviously I go by the story. This story is 8 pages. This one is 5 pages. And this one is 12 pages. So that is, let me look at this one. It's about 16 pages and it'll probably be about half an hour. So I should be able to do it. This should be the first one on my list. So next video I do, which will probably be a list of queer books I love reading, I will have a lot of books on my TBR shelf. Obviously not the ones I'm currently reading. I will probably add Assassin's Quest to it, just to remind myself that I really need to read it, because my shelf at the moment is literally empty, so that's fun. But yeah, have you read any of these books? Are you annoyed about me constantly talking about Radio Silence yet? Because I will be adding this to a list of my favourite queer books. Spoilers for that video, because this book is an all-time favourite. I currently don't have any of my other Alice Oseman books yet, so I'll probably just be holding this up saying like, I recommend Alice Oseman in general, because I lent them to my niece for the Alice Oseman Along readathon, which is happening. It started on the 31st of May. It's going through to the middle of July with live shows throughout. I, of course, have already read the full volumes of Heartstopper and Charlie, which are the first ones. We've got 2 weeks to read and stuff, so that's fun. I have read all of them apart from I Was Born for This, but I currently cannot for the life of me find my copy of I Was Born for This. It's probably in that mess over there somewhere. But anyway, I'll probably just buy a new copy. Let's get paid, because I do want to read it. Anyway, that's enough for me. It's nearly half an hour long, this video, Jesus. Don't know how you will battle with me. But anyway, please tell me if you've have read any of these, what you think of them. Yeah. If you've heard of any of them, that's a good one as well. But yes, my overly ambitious June TBR, which is not very pride-filled, sadly. But next month it might be extended pride. Pardon me. But yes, thank you for watching. Have a good day, and I'll see you later. Bye.